like a Hellcat.
Before we get started, I have a favor. If you enjoy my content and want to see me continue to improve in both quality and size, please check out my Patreon linked in the description. Any amount helps and it is greatly appreciated. There are so many rewards for each level of donation, so go check it out. Now back to the video. Hey guys, this is EmeraldAvengerG and welcome to this week's Halo Theory video, which will center around the Covenant. The central conflict of the Halo games has always been between the UNSC and the Covenant, with the only exceptions being missions in the original trilogy, where Chief encounters the Flood, same with both Halo Wars games, and the Prometheans of Halo 4 and 5. Regardless, the Covenant, like Chief, are almost synonymous with Halo itself. So the Covenant will almost certainly, whether it's as individual species or various factions, appear in Halo Infinite. The Covenant as we know it no longer exists. Since Halo 3, it has been split up into various factions. The Lesser Covenant, as I will call it, or the Post-Schism Covenant, was those who remained after the Elites, as well as some of the Grunts, left the Covenant, to form the early Swords of St. Helios, which fought alongside the UNSC in Halo 3. The Lesser Covenant after Halo 3 was, for the most part, disbanded, with the Brutes and Prophets leaving entirely, Prophets basically dying off and Brutes returning to their homeworld, and the remaining Jackals, Hunters, and Grunts joining the rogue elite faction known as Storm Faction, who worship the Foreigners. At the point we'll be at in Halo Infinite, Storm Faction is likely no more, especially after the events of Halo 5. But their replacement may come in the form of Cortana's new alliance, the Created Covenant, or the New Covenant as I will call it. This new faction could consist of all the main species, Storm Elites, Jackals, Grunts, and Hunters, ex-Covenant Brutes and possibly Prophets, and perhaps some enslaved engineers and drones. I could see all the members of this faction being outfitted with Foreigner-esque armor and maybe even using Promethean weapons. By extension, this could also make way for us to see the introduction of new Promethean weapons and vehicles. But I'll discuss that in a whole nother video. I believe the story of Halo Wars 2 will connect with Infinite by introducing the Banished as an enemy faction. Or in a strange situation, the enemy of my enemy is my ally, since the Banished would be at conflict with the Created's new Covenant. The Banished could work with the UNSC and the Swords of St. Helios remnants, similar to how the Swords helped the UNSC in Halo 3, to stop the Flood and Cortana's new Covenant. However, this is a story theory that is also for another video. All members of this faction would be outfitted with the armor, weapons, and vehicles that were present in Halo Wars 2, allowing us to see the Banished vehicles and weapons get added into the Halo sandbox. The Swords of St. Helios would likely carry over from Halo 5, being an ally to the UNSC. Regardless of numbers, they will consist of elites and grunts as they did in Guardians. But I also think a new tank unit, maybe a heavy weaponry elite variant or hunters, could be introduced into their ranks. This faction would look a bit more normal compared to the previous two factions' art styles. For both weapons and armor, although we may see new energy sword variants like a pike or hammer we've seen in the books. Now that we've dealt with the factions, let's move to the specific species. First, with the most common species within the Covenant and Halo, the Grunts, the underling backbone of any Covenant faction or army. I believe each faction will have some number of Grunts within their ranks, with the Sword faction having the basic Grunts and possibly space-capable Grunts, and the other two factions having the same in addition to Grunt Goblins, as we saw in Halo 5 and Halo Wars 2. Next to the Jackals. We've never really seen any Jackals with the Swords of St. Helios, so I'll keep that consistent. However, we did see them in Storm faction and the Banished, so each of those factions would get both Shield and Sniper Jackals, and maybe we could get the reintroduction of the Skirmishers from Halo Reach. Next is the Hunters. Though we've never seen the Swords of St. Helios use them, I think it would be a nice addition to their numbers. And of course the Hunters would also be part of the other two factions as we've seen in previous Halo games. Brutes now would be with both the New Covenant and the Banished, since the latter of course was led by Brutes. Now for the Elites, which I believe will be in every faction, the Remnants within the Banished, the bulk within the Swords of St. Helios, and the last of the Storm would be with the New Covenant. Elites are pretty much the staple of the Covenant, so no matter what form they take, they must return in Halo Infinite. Now we get to the last two species, the drones and the engineers. With the drones, I'm not 100% sure if we'll ever actually see them again. The best possibility for seeing them would likely be within the New Covenant, because I do not believe the Banished nor Swords of St. Helios would have drones on their side. And with the engineers, same thing, I believe that they will be in the New Covenant, whether or not they are enslaved, but they were also with the Banished as we saw in the campaign of multiplayer, so I believe that the Banished will bring engineers along with them as well. What their gameplay role will be, there's no telling. They could be suicide bombs, or they could be machine repairers. At this point, I have no ideas, and I don't really have a defined theory on this concept either. So that's my theory on what all factions of Covenant we shall see, what all species of the Covenant we shall see, and what factions each species is aligned with, if not more than one. So what do you guys think? Do you agree that we may see an entirely new Covenant faction? Do you believe that we will see the Banished and the Swords of St. Helios return? Do you believe that we might see a new Storm faction arise in conflict with the New Covenant? Feel free to leave your comments. Feel free to leave your theories down in the comment section down below or in the Discord server. As always, thank you all for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more content. Follow me on all my socials, the key of the channel. Go to my Discord, join the conversation, go to my Patreon if you feel like supporting me. This is EmeraldAvenger. As always, have a nice day, stay safe. Peace out.